Hello again, I am Zarkoon. This is World of Warships Legends, and today I've got a battle for you on the map Atlantic in the Tier 7 Premium Russian Cruiser Kutuzov. And this game is one that I have been holding on to for quite a while. I think it is the highest amount of damage I've ever scored in this particular ship, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. But before I really get into things in terms of the commentary, I just want to take a moment to thank everybody who has been tuning into these videos on a regular basis. I will tell you that the past, 4 or 5 videos that I've done have gotten, at least in my opinion, pretty good levels of engagement. A lot of you are hitting that like button. I think each of the past 4 or 5 videos I've done have had 20 to 30 likes on them, which is fantastic. It really helps out the individual videos, and it's nice to see that kind of response. I also have noticed that many of you are leaving comments on the videos, many more comments than ever before, and that is great. I try to respond to all of them, and I enjoy having those discussions with you guys down in the comment sections of the videos. So, keep that up. That is wonderful to see. There's also a steady trickle of subscribers coming in, so thank you so much to all of those of you who have recently subscribed, and those of you who have, who subscribed a long time ago. I really appreciate that. It's nice to see growth on my channel here, even if it comes at a relatively slow rate. I hope it'll, pick up as time goes on, but as long as I continue to see that growth, it makes it fun for me, and it makes it fun to continue doing these videos. But now, let's talk a little bit about this game here, and a little bit more about the Kutuzov generally. So, as I said earlier, this is a game that I've been holding on to for quite a while, despite the fact that it does show my personal high damage record in this ship. Now, why have I been holding on to this game for a while? Well, frankly, this is probably not the most interesting thing in the world to watch. And, furthermore, the Russian cruisers generally are, honestly, in my opinion, not all that interesting to play. Yeah, it's great that you can rack up, metric shit tons of damage by spamming HE 17 kilometers across the map at enemy battleships. That's great. But the actual process of doing that is not the most fun thing in the world, and it's probably not the most entertaining thing you're ever going to see on YouTube. So that's part of the reason that I've been holding on to it, and another part is I wasn't sure what angle to approach this game from in terms of creating a commentary for it. But now I think I have got it down. And what I want to talk about is a single ship and a single player's influence over the course of a battle. And I want to talk a bit about this ship specifically and Russian cruisers generally with respect to their influence on the outcome of the games that they play in. So these ships, of course, are all, without exception, pretty long-range HE sniping spammers that do best from far out, shooting HE shells at enemy ships, especially battleships, lighting them on fire, whittling them down. they have pretty terrible concealment, so they aren't stealthy, which means they aren't good at entering and contesting caps, although you might be able to get away with it in the Kutuzov due to the smoke screen, but only if there are no enemy destroyers, because of course your smoke firing penalty is something like 7 kilometers, so if you're sitting in smoke and a destroyer comes within 7 kilometers of your smoke screen, it's going to spot you, and that's going to cause you trouble, which, by the way, is how you counter the Kutuzov, at least in my opinion. I continue to see posts on social media with people complaining about the ship and complaining specifically about the fact, or the supposed fact, that there is no way to counter it. Yes, it's true. This Kutuzov, it can park itself at the end of the map, 15, 16, 17 kilometers away from you in your accuracy build battleship, and it can spam you with HE until you are forced to use your damage controls and, just burn you down to a crisp. And if that's the case, and it's sitting in a smokescreen unspotted doing this, your methods for countering it are fairly limited. You can try blind firing inside the smoke, but what you really have to rely on is good teamwork. You need a destroyer to push up on the Kutuzov smoke screen and spot it by making use of the smoke firing penalty that the Kutuzov has. So, the destroyer sails within those 7 kilometers, spots the Kutuzov, suddenly you're spotted, and you're probably stationary with at least some sort of semi-broadside angle pointed at the targets you're shooting at, and since they can see you, they can lock onto you, and they can shoot you. And they don't really have to hit you many times or at any specific angle to do catastrophic damage to you, since your ship is so squishy. So the name of the game is not being shot at in the Kutuzov or any of the Russian ships, and in order to minimize your odds being shot at, you need to be far away. So this kind of sniping, HE spamming playstyle is almost compulsory or mandatory on these Russian cruisers if you want to do what they do best, which is putting out the damage numbers. We're already at 118,000 damage, and we took a nasty hit from the Jean Bart there. Even though we were pretty angled, his shells managed to connect with us. I am 90% sure that was a Citadel hit, and now we have a lot less HP than we did a few minutes ago, although we did just score the high caliber medal, and the damage numbers continue to tick up. But with all of that being said, the question is, what kind of influence do these ships exert on a match? Now, this is a domination mode game, and in order to win a domination mode game, you need to get points. There are 2 general ways you can go about doing this. The first and most important way is, of course, to capture the capture points. You capture one of those, secure it for your team, and hold it. It brings in an increased supply of points every 3 or 5 seconds or whatever it is throughout the course of the entire match, which, continues to build up your points, hopefully gives you a lead over the enemies, and maybe, you'll eventually win on points if all ships cannot be sunk. But speaking of sinking ships, the second way to acquire points is by sinking ships, and that gives you a one-time lump sum of points every time you send an enemy ship down to the bottom. Now, the Kutuzov and the Russian cruisers generally are not good pretty much at all with capturing the capture points. So that's one possible move that is more or less denied to them in terms of contributing to the outcome of a win. Now, they are pretty good at shooting enemy destroyers, but enemy destroyers are often found around cap circles, and since you're probably not going to be sailing into the cap circles, you might not get as many chances as you would to shoot at them as you would in other cruisers. And taking out the destroyers is a massive contribution to your team. It means that the enemy team loses one of their best units for securing capture points. So, the influence that these ships can exert on a match. They're not good at capturing capture points. They may be good at shooting enemy ships inside capture points and defending them, although I have not done that at all throughout the course of this game yet. But what these ships excel at is damaging the enemy ships. And that, at least in my mind, is not the most important thing when it comes to winning games. Now, obviously, I have damaged a number of enemy ships. I have the high caliber award. I think I'm going to get the Confederate, or I already have it. So I've put out a lot of damage. And that is helpful to my team. That does influence the outcome of the game in the sense that I have taken a certain chunk of hit points off of the enemy ships, which makes it easier for my teammates to finish them off and secure kills, which gathers us points. But that only really works if, number one, my teammates actually do finish off these ships, which so far they've done pretty well. So that only works if my teammates are actually going to shoot at the ships and sink them. And number two, it only works if I have my teammates out there spotting these ships. These Russian cruisers do rely quite a bit on their teammates spotting for them. So if you get a bad team that is not willing to spot for you, or is not willing to shoot at the enemies that you have damaged and, start sinking them, then your influence on a match is fairly limited, and just doing raw damage numbers in itself, racking up huge damage numbers in and of itself is, at least in my mind, not the most influential thing you can do in order to influence the outcome of a game. The most influential thing that you can do is that kind of thing which acquires your team the points that it needs to win the game. So, capturing capture circles, and to a lesser extent, sinking ships. The Kutuzov and the Russian cruisers are pretty much not effective for capturing the capture circles, which means that in some cases, their ability to influence the outcome of a match is limited. And I'm not saying that I haven't influenced the outcome of this match. I absolutely have, by racking up a crap ton of damage. You see, now we're approaching 200k. All I'm saying is that maybe chasing the damage numbers like I am doing here, which, is fine. This is obviously a guaranteed win. If this Jean Bart takes me out, then we're not going to lose. But maybe chasing damage numbers, as players seem to enjoy doing, is not the most important thing for your team. Maybe there are other important things, like taking the capture points, and that kind of stuff. And that's basically what I wanted to suggest to you throughout the course of this game. We just hit 201,000 damage there, and the clock is about to expire, ending the game with my team's victory. So, there you have it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, consider doing that. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Goodbye.